Wow, I'm feeling quite privileged and a little intimidated to be moderating a panel like this. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on analytics, how it's evolved over a period of time, and where do we think it's going, but also equally what are the challenges in the analytics playing a bigger role. So let me do a quick introduction of who the panelists are. I've got Shuvadip with us. Shuvadip's profile is a bit similar to me, a mechanical engineer like me, who went to B school and joined IMRB in research. He's been now with ITC for about 16 years or so. He's done obviously insights, he's done media, and more recently galvanizing the digital world, the digital, evangelizing the digital media within ITC.
Galvanizing or evangelizing, we'll figure out.
Yeah, whatever works. We've got June Clarke on the other hand, who comes from a very, very different profile. June's expertise is to enable companies to connect with people and get answers to the real questions. And I think June's experience in GMI, Lucid, and more recently Cint, I think has given him very, very good perspective on how technology has changed over a period of few years and how it's enabling us to connect with consumers better and understand them better. So we are hoping that you'll be able to bring that perspective on the table. Rana has been a Kantar man all his life. He joined IMRB in India to start with, but he spent a lot of time in Shanghai, in Kantar, looking after the Shanghai business and the APAC business. He's come back to India to look after the South Asia region, and I think Rana would have an interesting perspective on how an agency like Kantar can provide holistic insights to consumers from different resources and different expertise you have, but also equally interestingly, how Kantar Analytics as an organization has evolved over a period of time and has become an integral part of Kantar. Last but obviously not the least, Praneet is a hardcore analytics man. He spent 16, 17 odd years in Fractal, one of the leading analytics agencies in India, and he's done a lot of work on the CPG vertical, advising clients on through the insights on how to make the business decisions. So very, very different profiles of people, and I think that's what will make the discussion very interesting. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask the question specifically to one of you, and to sort of get your perspective. But it doesn't mean the others can't jump in and add your perspective, but it'll be easier to sort of start with one person. So I'm going to start with you first, Praneet. From your perspective, having been in this space for a while now, how do you think the world of analytics has changed? Are companies using it differently now than before? Are the questions the same, but the way they're being dealt with is different? How has it changed from your point of view?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me as well. So I think a lot has changed. I think companies, the kind of problems they're solving have become more complicated. I think from a cost center to becoming a revenue generating function in some shape and form, that companies are looking at business results, revenue, profitability, and analytics is directly driving some of those decisions as well. I think from a talent point of view, it's changed. Talent is more ready. Earlier, I think talent was more generic. Now they are coming with programming expertise. I think from a point of view of business problems, earlier it was more about Excels and BI reporting. Now it's about AI engineering, design, technology, all coming together in solving more complex problems. Cloud aggregation has changed. So the overall operationalization of analytics is becoming a problem. So I think overall the complexity has increased, and I think technology is there to enable it now with less cost and more processing power. Data is more readily available. So all of that is driving a big, big change in the industry. And I think there are internal evangelists within the organization, chief data officer, chief analytics officer, CIOs, all embracing it across the industry. So I think it's become a norm rather than nobody's following now. Everybody is trying to lead.
Oh, that's really, really good to hear. Now, let me ask the same question to Shuvadip. From the user's perspective, how do you think the role of analytics has changed?
So I think there's some major shifts that we have observed over time. One is that it has become omnipresent. And when I say omnipresent, let me exemplify the same. So let's say the erstwhile market mix model, trade promo optimization, etc., where they continue to exist. But today we use it in HR, trying to provide a propensity to see is there a churn expected. We are looking at from a commerce standpoint, again, customer churns, lifetime values. You're looking at cohort into ad format, into a particular publisher platform, etc., and trying to see which is working better. So
Right.
forecasting, for example, again, always sales forecasting was important, but let's say in the food industry that we are in, today, weather forecasting is becoming critical. And connecting it back to crop is become, so if you see, it has become all pervasive. It has become omnipresent. Parallelly, if you see, there is a lot of diversity that has happened. Now, the quantum of data, the new sources of information that has flown in, is allowing us to do stuff at, and specifically the granularity at that level,
Right.
the data that's flowing in. Not even 10 years back, when we were talking to CEOs, the resonance around analytics was not very large.
Right.
If I would say it was not quite warm enough. Today, it's them who are leading it from the top, and that's why probably it's becoming an omnipresent way of business decision making. Also, to add to that, and he talked about it, I think the accuracy level of analytical outcomes have increased multifolds, and that's why prescriptive way of using analytics has become critical.
Right.
Just want to touch upon one more point, which is about the paranoia towards data. And I think that's another big shift that has happened, whether it's the ownership of the paranoia towards data or the paranoia to protect and ensure privacy protection, etc. And that's, I think that's every organization today, we are all really, I would repeat the word paranoid about how we are owning data and keeping data in the way we should, ideally.
No, and I think we must be paranoid. We should be paranoid.
That's right.
But I think Praneet used an interesting word, which is to say that from being a cost center to a revenue generating center,
Yep.
have you seen that shift and how
Significant.
easy or difficult it was?
So significant shift in the sense that it was not an easy, it is a journey, in fact, and that's why I think last 10 years specifically has seen this journey happen, where it was POCs, small scale stuff happening, you show a little bit of financial benefit outcomes of that. Today, when it's being adopted at scale, that's where the organization has realized the quantum money efficiency that you can build at
Right.
every part of the entire mix or, the functions,
Yeah.
whether it's in the supply chain, in our case, let's say supply chain or distribution, or even the way we invest behind brands.
Right.
So that's a profound delta that has come into the bottom line of the organization.
Right. Oh, that's very, very interesting to hear. So I would love to hear, a different perspective from Rana on this conversation to see that in an organization like Kantar, for instance, how did you bring analytics into its fold, and what is the thinking behind it, and how easy or difficult is it now for you to give a holistic insight using analytics plus other methods like qualitative or quantitative?
Right. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's little known, but Kantar is now a huge pure play analytics
Right.
firm as well. I mean, we are in the top 10 in the Forrester report.
Yeah.
And it's literally all our work is informed by analytics, but about $150 million is pure play analytics.
Right.
So we're now dealing with not just third-party survey analytics, but also first-party data, which we hadn't done.
So has this resurgence been more recent, or was it always there but more behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, so the organization is, and especially after, we are now owned by Bain, and
Yeah.
Bain has actually invested a lot in acquisitions.
Right.
So before that, we had Analytics Quotient, which we,
That's right.
acquired here. Now we have, AI-driven acquisitions like Black Sevens, who do MMM,
Yeah.
with real-time data ingestion of the sort that Shuvadip was talking about. We have 600 people in India
Right.
servicing the entire world on analytics, and about 1,500 professionals across the world.
Right.
But like from a point of view of, how do we pivot to servicing clients with it? What we have done is we've kind of classified it into what is the decision that the client wants to take. So is it about building strong brands, in which case we have brand analytics? Is it about optimizing ROI? So we have, TMROI solutions. Is it about customer analytics? Engaging and sort of increasing customer lifetime value.
Yeah.
Right, and even creative analytics. So something like, and Shuvadip will know about it, something called Link AI,
Right.
Which is, we used to do a copy test in, I don't know, at one point of time it was 1 month, and then it turned to, 4 days using online
4 days,
or
yeah.
whatever, and now it's 15 minutes using AI.
Right.
So
15
there's a lot
minutes,
of,
link in 15 minutes, guys.
yes.
If you want to remember one thing.
Yeah. So I think what the attempt here is that the analytics is done in the service of an outcome, and there's obviously a storytelling on back of that. And I think the unique thing about Kantar is we keep going back to our roots, which is about understanding humans.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, there are pure play analytics companies, but we stand apart because we bring kind of human understanding and also a deep understanding of the client's business.
Right.
And their business challenges to it.
So I'm going to come back to you on a couple of interesting points that you made, particularly on storytelling and understanding humans holistically. But let's get a little bit of technological perspective in the discussion. So June, that tech has become an integral part of analytics and consumer understanding. Obviously, is an understatement. Look at organizations that you worked in, like Lucid, Cint, etc. Lucid and Cint, etc. They probably didn't even exist till about a few years ago, and now it feels almost like it's very difficult to live without the organizations like that. Now, how has been that journey for you, and what do you think are the major forces in technology?
So I think talking about kind of the technology aspect of it, my background and the background with companies like Lucid and Cint is not specifically in analytics, it's more in the data processing, the data collection aspect of things. But if you talk about the journey, I would say, kind of similar to your opening presentation yesterday, there are milestones, right? When you take technology helps you take a certain leap at a certain point. So when you go from doing presentations on paper to doing presentations through an overhead projector, through finally the big screen, right? I would say the journey for us has been something similar to that. In the data collection space, where you've gone from pen to paper to telephones to online, and then finally in our space, it's been more through the automation process. So when you have the decision making and some of the processes that used to be done by humans are starting to be done by algorithms, right?
Right.
So this is another one of those massive leaps that's happened within tech overall. That's within our space as well as analytics. All kinds of areas. So it's been super fast. The journey has been very speedy. As far as where we're going to next, I would say that it's going to be even faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been the takeaway. We've had a really acceleration in the last 10 years has been extreme. But since post-pandemic, it's accelerated at an unprecedented rate, right? So I think, if there are two trends that I can say that we can count on happening in the future, is that the acceleration is not going to stop. So if you look at kind of research technology as an overall global industry, the growth rate in 2021 was 9%.
Right.
For tech-enabled research, and that includes everything from data collection, processing, visualization, etc., it grew at just under 27%.
Right.
So tech in general within our industry is growing at 3 times more than the industry overall.
Yeah.
So I think that's one trend that I think will most definitely continue.
Right.
And if you follow the landscape when it comes to capital and investment, you can see that the majority of the new investment's happening in technology as well. So, that trend is not going anywhere. I think the second kind of comment that I would say in terms of where we're headed in the future is, while new technology comes in and sometimes will challenge and compete with traditional forms of research, what we're seeing is that the technology within our industry is actually, there's a lot of new products that are created out of tech, right? So, there's a lot of additional, the total addressable market is increasing. So the TAM, the opportunity there is actually going to grow in time. So which I think is a really exciting part of the industry. And if we remember, like the minister was talking to us yesterday, it's like, I want to come back in 4 years and you're going to be 5x, 10x bigger, right, as an industry.
Right.
And I think technology at large is going to be a major driver in that. So
Yeah.
I think that's exciting.
So that sort of makes me bring to the next question, which is that with so much of technology coming in, how complex is it now, particularly for organizations like yours? So analytics already was what's quite complex. You needed to understand the statistical modeling, what model to use, how do you interpret that, etc., etc. Now there's a lot of technology that come in. So you need not only the data scientists, which is the statisticians, but you need data engineers, you need data architects, you need people to understand coding. So I can't get into analytics without a little bit of understanding of all of these, and I might have in-depth understanding of one of these. So how complex is it in organizations like Fractal and Kantar to manage analytics with so much of complexity? And how is it linked to the complexity in talent retention was my next sort of leading question to that.
Yeah, I think, it's fairly complex. We have 6 career tracks in Fractal. There is AI, engineering, design, and there is the vertices as well. Information architect, decision scientist, so basically it's getting machine learning engineer. So,
Right.
so it's getting quite complex overall. And I think it is also creating a lot of silos as well sometimes. For example, a data scientist will say, I'll not work with data. That's very odd, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll say data engineering is going to do it. So I think that's the complexity in terms of reorienting talent to think more holistically in solving problems and having them to collaborate with each other. Of course, there is also challenges is sourcing talent.
Yeah.
Good talent is tough to get. Talent is not tough to get. India market is already quite big in terms of getting talent, but I think getting the talent who actually problem solves, is intelligent, is able to program, are things and software aspects as well. Altogether is very difficult. So I think those are things from an acquisition point of view, which is a challenge. And there's so much competition. IT companies, consulting companies, analytics companies, vying from the same space, research companies,
Yeah.
all vying for the same space, for the same talent. Is the good talent, is of course there. But I think there's a lot of good things as well in terms of, if you look at some of the tech companies like Google, Tesla I'll talk called tech as well, Meta, right? All of them are actually leading the way in terms of showing what that path could look like.
Yeah.
And I think what that 2% needs to do
Right.
to be able to make the difference, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is some highlights at the end, which I think would work.
What's been your experience, Rana?
I mean, so just the way, for Fractal, it's about, data scientists and engineers and people who ingest the data and organize it. For us, like I said, it's about, is your expertise in brand analytics, or is it about understanding what makes great creatives work or ROI? I mean, that's the angle we
Right,
approach
right.
it from.
Yeah.
And then the analytics skills actually follow. And then we also have all of those. I mean, so for example, our global tech head was just in Bangalore and working with the analytics guys, and we're merging the global tech teams and the analytics teams because you
Right.
need the coders and so on.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I mean, you might have an amazing data scientist who can create massive outsized impact. I mean, just 3 or 4 guys can create,
Yeah.
amazing AI,
Yeah.
which can then, be productized.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with Kantar is how do we take it to the maximum number of clients possible,
Right.
right? So that's the attempt that, look, you have analytics as an underlying foundation. It's not a silo in Kantar. It's a organization that serves everybody, World Panel or Insights, or all the divisions, media, and then we have a common analytics talent pool, which then,
Yeah.
services the respective solution areas.
Yeah.
And I think like Mr. Rana said, design is becoming, or behavioral science is becoming very important in the entire setup of analytics in terms of how the problem is to be solved first. I think the planning part of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Manish, if I may just build
Yeah,
on.
sure.
The way we see that these kind of specific roles, at where the industry is today, you will likely to see these specific roles exist. Whether there is a data architect, probably that's a necessity. You need a set of data engineers to ensure that the data is clean and pulled in rightly. And you will definitely need a set of data scientists churning your models out. Maybe, and what June was talking about, maybe some part of this, specifically in the data engineering piece, might get a little more automated than what it is today. And hence might be that part of the job space might collapse. You might not
Yes.
require that silo, but the data scientist and their requirement will continue specifically when. So low and no code probably is going to aid this process going forward. We already see some some evidence of that happening.
Right.
So just wanted
Yeah, I
to
mean,
just
yeah,
add
that's
to
a
that.
very valid point because now you have like platforms which are built for ingesting data.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably it's a harder task in India because, data is just not organized that well. So the data ingestion part becomes harder and structuring it and organizing it. But if you, go to the US, it's kind of already a mature industry and hence you can get on to the next stage a lot faster.
Yeah.
I think the other challenge which maybe we haven't brought up is that finally, if you look at a lot of the analytics talent in India, it's geared towards servicing overseas markets
yeah.
rather than focusing on India. And in a way, that's holding back the industry in India from transforming faster.
Can't agree more.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
according to the minister yesterday, he's earning us a lot of forex. So there's a different perspective to that too. June, you were adding something.
Yeah, I think, that we're not quite there yet, I think is the point. But the idea is that it's going to get easier over time.
Yeah.
And I think that will definitely happen as processes get automated. The technology is going to be there to help us understand the data, to make quick recommendations, right? At the moment, it's easier said than done, I think. Data's in different places. How do you find it? How do you combine it? What data privacy areas do you need to be cognizant of?
Yeah.
There are just a lot of factors. But I think companies now will find the right people, the right specialists to be able to cope with that in the short term. And then in time, technology will be able to help, make that a little bit more user-friendly as we go as well.
Sorry, one more interjection.
Yeah, of course.
See, all this that we just spoke about and the areas of work that we spoke about, it's almost like blood flowing through the veins. But if you have to make people work because there is blood flowing through the veins, which means that
The blood is not coming out, right?
translation bit,
Yeah.
I think till the model happens, it's just 30% of the task done. There's a 70% large task left to take that learning, embed it into the business, make it happen. I mean, make people work on that learning, prove to them that yes, it's accurate enough. It's giving at least 90% of what we had promised.
Yeah.
I think that's a very, very large piece of task. And Rana talked about the fact that the starting point is brand, etc.
Yeah.
And hence, from our perspective, it's from a business function oriented, that how do you look at it from that lens? And there is a clear need of people embedded in the business to have an appreciation towards the process, but it's a very large task post the models are over.
Yeah, so in fact, my thought and the next thing, sorry to interrupt, was linked to that, which is the storytelling.
Yeah.
So my
I was about to
experience
come
has
to that.
been that, when you talk to the data scientists or when you talk to the hardcore analytics people, it's very difficult to make sense of what are they saying. And for them, it's equally difficult to explain to me what they're saying. So what's been your struggle or experiences in the storytelling part? Is there a separate focus? And like what you were saying, how do you sort of sum it up? Even from the starting point of the problem, or in the end saying this is what it means and these are the recommendations are?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you need C-suite impact and you need to be kind of clear, precise, and you can't have a nerd basically kind of there. So that's where the storytelling comes in. And in fact, if you look at the next 30 years and you read, a lot of it is about, there is a big need gap in that area. And I think, to be honest, it's a bit about the agencies or the analytics partners, but also on the client side, you need to have people who are savvy about that.
Yeah.
So I think one is the soft storytelling, but the other is the hard turning of the recommendations into action. And I think that's where some of the areas are like, first party, third party data integration.
Yeah.
So if you can, obviously if you're just doing first party analytics for clients, it's much easier to action it.
Yeah.
But for example, for a packaged goods major, that's not an option, right?
Yeah.
It's for the service industries and for the, you had a Zomato and all that. I mean, for them, it's a lot easier to do that.
It's not easy for CPG.
But if you, for example, bring in the role of, permission panels
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Cint or profiles from Kantar, and then you're able to link up the first party, third party.
Yeah.
Then the beauty is then it's not just us going making recommendations.
Yeah.
It's about actioning it in the client ecosystem.
That's right.
And I think that's where it turns from a cost into a profit, with,
Yeah.
ROI being very clear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we should just look at impact, and storytelling is a part of that, but some of this sort of linking of the first party, third party data that enables action
Yeah.
is
So
very
you're saying
critical.
make it a lot more actionable, and the tech can help you there as well. And it's not just about connecting
Yeah.
the dots and storytelling. But the other interesting thing that I'm sure you guys in the audience would have noticed as well is that for a panel discussion on analytics, the past and the future, there are no women on the panel. Is that sort of an indication of what happens in the industry as well?
No, it's embarrassing, but it's not an indicator for sure. I think we should have at least 50% of us who should have been elite, and quite a few of them here. And like in any industry, I think diversity is something that should be pushed. This has always been lagging behind, and I think that's a core agenda. And just on a lighter side, maybe data science is some part of lot of science, but a lot of art as well. And
Yeah.
translation is being one of them, right? And the EQ of women are always better, so they have to be a significant part
about stereotyping.
of the analytics team.
No,
I mean,
but what
just to be clear, our global head of tech is a lady,
Oh.
and Satya Menon, she's an icon
Yeah.
from India, but making huge impact globally. And we have, talent like Ranjana here, who's, they're sort of very good at analytics as well. So I would say it's just a coincidence and a bad one, but I don't think it's
Yes,
correct sampling.
Sampling error.
I think, but imagine that you're trying to solve a problem, right, in the industry, and you have 10 men in the room, and they're solving a diaper problem, or a baby care problem, or a makeup problem, or probably even media, right? Women are big consumers of all these channels. Women are probably a lot of categories where women actually are the influencers and the decision makers.
Yeah.
So for them to be part of the decision making is so important, so critical in driving the right behaviors within the organization, telling the right story within the organization. So I think that is what needs to be represented in all the sectors. And I think part of the thing is that we already know productivity, global productivity grows up if more people are working.
Yeah.
Right? And I think if half your population is not fully involved, then it creates a big problem for the world to grow, right?
Absolutely.
And I think other things are engagement and all those things are there. Obviously, Fractal is on that journey. We're probably not there yet. In terms of diversity, we are probably 32% in terms of the gender ratio. Exec level, it kind of goes down further, right?
Yeah.
But we are running programs as well in trying to have full intern batch of women, because there's also a challenge in STEM industries where in mathematics, science, women are not participating as much versus arts and commerce, right? So that there needs to be a different strategy on how to attract talent as well.
And retain them.
Sorry,
Did you
it's
want
not
to-
about,
Yeah, go
just a
ahead.
very quick one. I mean, the risk with AI is also that you end up with outcomes which are not, which are gender biased. So just today, earlier morning, we had a presentation where I saw a big red on the negative to the female, and we had like all the women in Kantar buzzing like, does it say that you should be hiring men? And I mean, so that's a risk, that's a real risk that, or even in customer analytics, you might end up with recommendations which are not inclusive.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy sitting there and it's, creating that program, and it's not crossing his mind that this could lead to an entirely wrong application.
Yeah. June?
Yeah, I think definitely on that front that you just mentioned, being cognizant of having a diverse workforce, whether it's your team, whether it's your company, it pays you back in different ways that you don't expect. When you're hiring for someone and you're judging someone on the CV, on the interview, on the skill set, that's one thing. But I think having a broad view at your team and your business, and having the diversity, through proper gender representation as well as, age, different people from different backgrounds as well. I think that's been a really good theme of this event today. And I think it's really important for the business. So that's something that, that Cint as well has done a lot of work in. We're pretty well represented as well, luckily. At the top, our head of product is a woman.
Right.
Our head of data solutions is a woman. But still the ratios aren't probably what they should be.
Yeah. No, what is also heartening is I was talking to Ms. Parvez Khan, who's the new CEO of SOMA, a couple of weeks back. And she made an observation that in India, she thinks that she sees a lot more women in the world of analytics and research than what she has seen in Europe, which was really heartening to hear that. And I hope that continues. And the diversity is not just about, and the inclusivity is not just about gender balance, but it's also about other, other diverse background, people from diverse background need to be included. But it's been a great conversation talking to you. Thank you very much. I was trying to see on the phone if there are any questions. Okay, there are a couple of questions. So with the stalwarts of the analytics together, do you feel there are now and in the future certain areas where industry will be dependent on pure play MR and remains irreplaceable? I'm not sure, sorry, I understood the question, but let me go to the next one instead. Do we have some areas which seem obsolete, totally obsolete in the future, in analytics specifically, and will overpower sort of pure play market research as we call it? So are there some areas in research that will become obsolete? There are some areas that analytics will make obsolete for research?
I mean, if it's just that all of research will be far more informed and driven by analytics.
Yeah.
I mean, you can choose to call it whatever it is. I mean, earlier it used to be very smart DP people who used to do that. Now you have, AI. But I do see analytics powering everything that we do a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean, you can still call it research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still need to understand humans.
No, I'm just saying that I completely agree, Rana, with you. And I think one complements the other. We talked about so much on translation.
Yeah.
I think there could be none better than an inside person to talk about how to translate the insights driven by analytics into business in an actionable form. So we can name it something else. We can call it Consumer Insights and Analytics, CIA of sorts.
I mean, there's just a certain part of it which will get automated because you just won't need human intervention. So, I mean, stuff like A/B testing,
Yeah.
it'll just be done iterative, just like media planning.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to, because the speed of data, it's impossible for a human to ingest. So I would say tactical decision making will be increasingly automated and driven by analytics, AI, ML. But a lot of the strategic stuff on, where to head and, the basic architecture of that will be still driven by humans. Yeah.
But also, sorry, I was just going to say on that question, even if analytics, for example, makes certain processes obsolete, through the efficiencies that it brings about, it drives more value, right?
Yeah.
So with more value is more work, and so I think it's not necessarily a minus, even though a certain function is taken out.
Yeah.
Basic reporting, I think, will kind of all vanish, right? It will
Yeah.
become operationalized. Low code, no code will become a trend, right? So you'll require a lot more talent, which is able to aggregate these different pieces of the puzzle and is able to solve those problems. Data science, it becomes low code, no code, right? Data scientists themselves have to evolve if they don't have to write code then, right? So I think, of course, we are a long way away from that. But having said that, a lot of things, for example, even NLP translation, right? Language translation is automated quite with higher level of accuracy. Speech recognition is already happening. Video analytics is already, image analytics is already getting to a very good space. Video is still getting there.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of things are going to get automated. But the industry will continue to grow. Like it has been growing 15-20%. It will continue to grow because of the sheer amount of need that exists in the market to differentiate.
Brilliant. We can continue talking for hours and hours, but our time is
lunch,
up. So
maybe?
thank you very much for giving us time to be on the panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.